if you're watching this video, there is a 1 in 3 chance that you have a fatty liver. Why is fatty liver important? Because after a while, that fat in the liver causes the liver to become inflamed. When the liver becomes inflamed, you have hepatitis. If that fat in the liver persists and you have persisting inflammation, eventually that inflammation can lead to scarring. And a scarred liver is a liver that is cirrhotic, right? So scarring of the liver is liver cirrhosis. When your liver has cirrhosis, eventually you can progress to having a liver cancer. So that is why fatty liver is important. Now, why is fatty liver so common anyway? Before 50 years ago, so most cases of fatty liver were in persons who heavily consumed alcohol. So it was alcoholic fatty liver disease. But in the early 80s or so, or in the 70s, they started noticing more and more persons with fatty liver, and they had no history of excess alcohol consumption. So, it was sort of like unknown why are all these people having fatty liver, and they just called it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease to distinguish between those who got it from alcoholism and those who got it just for whatever unknown reasons. Now, in more recent decades, it has become clear that fatty liver results from excess starch consumption, either refined starch like sugar or just other like regular refined starches, right? So sugar or refined starches such as flour and cereals and things like that, right? What happens is that starch or carbohydrates, we use it for energy, right? So it's an immediate energy source. They are broken down into glucose, and the glucose, is a source of energy for our muscles, right? Starches or sugars, depending on what they are also broken down into fructose or fructose. So you have either glucose and fructose in various concentrations. Now the thing is, glucose is used as an energy source for all tissues, all cells of the body, right? Excess glucose that is not utilized is stored in like the liver and the muscles and so on as fat, right? Glycogen or fat, right? For times of scarcity, right? Now fructose, whereas the glucose can be utilized by all the cells of the body, fructose can only be can only be metabolized by the liver. So if you're consuming excess fructose, like sugar and high fructose corn syrup and things like that, right, and you're not using it, burning it up for energy, then that excess gets stored in the liver. Now, because our diets in recent decades are heavier and heavier in fructose, glucose, high fructose corn syrup and so on, and we're more sedentary, so we're not burning off energy as before, it means that we're storing more and more in the form of fat in the liver, right? And that is why we're seeing this explosion of fatty liver disease. We're even seeing fatty liver disease in children, and in fact fatty liver and hepatitis and so on is becoming one of the commonest forms of commonest reasons for children to need liver transplants. So fatty liver is really an important disease. As you don't know, but the fatty liver is about as common actually as pre-diabetes, right? 1 in 3 of you watching this video is pre-diabetic, and most people with pre-diabetic don't know. Like 80% of people with pre-diabetic don't know. I wanted to put this video out there to basically increase awareness about fatty liver disease. Fatty liver disease was in some quarters felt to be irreversible, but the fact is, if there are dietary modifications, specifically changing the diet to one where you're not consuming as much sugar, so you don't have this excess sugar to be stored, right, you could potentially have some amount of regression of that fatty liver, because then you're able, especially if you are a little more active, you're able to access some of those fat stores, and so therefore you can have regression of fatty liver disease. Now, I like to refer to fatty liver disease as sugar-induced liver disease, since sugar is nowadays the commonest cause, certainly more common a cause of fatty liver than alcohol. So instead of just saying non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, I feel like if we renamed it sugar-induced fatty liver disease, it would be more like it would become more obvious that, hey, you know what, sugar is like bad. It's not necessarily only a cause of diabetes or pre-diabetes, but hey, sugar is causing all this fatty liver disease as well. And actually, yeah, maybe I need to cut down sugar because I don't want a I don't want a fatty liver, I don't want a damaged liver, because after all, the liver is one of our most important, one of our vital organs, and without a functioning liver, we cannot live healthily, right? So if you feel as if you may have fatty liver disease, right? If there's any concern about fatty liver disease, you should see your personal healthcare provider to be assessed for fatty liver disease. And if you don't have fatty liver disease, you want to keep it that way. And in general, all of us can probably afford to cut down our intake of sugar and refined starches for overall improved health, overall improved metabolic health, right? So the general guideline is to have less than 6 teaspoons of added sugar per 24-hour period. 1 teaspoon of sugar is equal to 4 grams, so we want no more than 24 grams of added sugar in our diets per day, right? And that's just an average, for overall better health, right? Now, the closer to 0, the better, but we enjoy ourselves from time to time, and so we know that sometimes we will go over, but it's just an average, it's just a guideline to help to keep you focused, right? So sugar-induced fatty liver disease, which is my name for it, also known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a really common condition seen in 1 in 3 persons, right, in developed countries, and probably set to increase in prevalence, right? Keep your sugar intake and refined starch intake to lower, right? Not excessive, right? And if you're concerned that you may suffer or may be at risk for fatty liver disease, see a healthcare provider to see what you can do to prevent it or reverse it to a degree if you have it, okay?